Welcome back to the channel. Today in our Unsung Movies series, we're discussing Bronco Billy, directed by Clint Eastwood and released in 1980. Eastwood has been in the motion picture business for over 60 years. He started directing in 1971 and has since become one of the most well-respected and honored directors in Hollywood, winning 2 Best Director Academy Awards and directing 2 Best Picture winners, 1992's Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby, released in 2004. Bronco Billy is his 7th film as a director. It got good reviews when it was released and was profitable at the box office, and yet these days seems all but forgotten. With such an acclaimed filmography, it is understandable, if unfortunate, that his earlier classics have tended to fade into obscurity, but in retrospect, many of his early films are not only outstanding in their own right, but also give us a preview as to the themes that Eastwood would develop in his illustrious career, and none is better for this than Bronco Billy. Bronco Billy tells the story of Bronco Billy McCoy, played by Clint Eastwood, who is the owner and headline performer of a rundown traveling Wild West show. The goal of the troupe is to earn enough money to buy a ranch where they can live together and entertain underprivileged children. The show is not doing well, however. They perform in front of small, indifferent audiences. The members of the troupe have not been paid for months, and Billy has trouble keeping a female assistant on the team for longer than one show. Bronco Billy meets Antoinette Lilly, played by Sandra Locke, an heiress who was left stranded without money by her newlywed husband. Bronco Billy convinces her to be his assistant, and she agrees until she can get to the next town. Miss Lilly, as Bronco Billy calls her, is surprisingly adept in her new role, but she and Bronco Billy constantly quarrel, and her future with the troupe looks bleak, although she gradually earns respect from the troupe as well as Bronco Billy himself. She eventually becomes a part of the show, and the ensemble performs triumphantly to a full house in a tent made of American flags. Eastwood appears to be feeling his way towards his directorial style and narrative in Bronco Billy. He's begun to develop his team of actors and crew who will be with him throughout his career. He appears to have developed his famous laissez-faire style as a director, which, although works well with good actors, stumbles with ones that require more guidance. Locke was nominated for Worst Actress at the first Golden Raspberry Awards and definitely deserved it, losing out only due to an epic effort by Brooke Shields in The Blue Lagoon. But even in this early effort, Eastwood is discussing themes that will be recurrent throughout his career, including the exploration of ethical values in the individual's drive to contribute to society while proving to himself that he has a personal worth. And so it is with Bronco Billy, which preserves the innocence of the original Western. The hero who does good and has high moral values that he does not compromise in the face of danger. Bronco Billy McCoy is full of concern for children and constantly gives them advice that to modern ears sound painfully old-fashioned. Stay in school, respect your parents, say your prayers. When Bronco Billy sees a bunch of kids admiring his car, he plays the Western hero role with relish.
Are you really the fastest guy in the West? Wow! Wow!
Ain't nobody faster than Bronco Billy. Now look, I don't take kindly to kids playing hooky from school.
In a later scene, Bronco Billy is at a bank when it is held up by robbers. Bronco Billy begins to comply with the robbers' demands, but when a robber roughly pushes a child onto the ground, Billy is motivated to act. He gives what will become the iconic Eastwood glare and, well, takes care of business. In future roles, Eastwood will tinge similar characters with a hint of irony and sadness, but Bronco Billy appears to be a true old-fashioned Western hero. The robbers are evildoers, and on top of that, mistreat an innocent child, and Bronco Billy gives them their comeuppance. To modern ears, all this sounds sickeningly sweet, and it didn't sound significantly different in 1980. But if all Bronco Billy was about was rejuvenating the classic Western hero trope in such an obvious manner, we wouldn't be discussing it here. Eastwood gently parts the curtain at the beginning by showing the touching loyalty that his troupe has for him despite their destitute condition. You don't understand why they are loyal, but they clearly are. During their long drives between towns, Miss Lily talks to the others and learns more about them, and the curtain begins to part further. The roper, Leonard James, played by Sam Bottoms, tells her that he is grateful to Bronco Billy for teaching him his rope tricks.
Billy taught me everything I know. He gave me a home.
That's very touching.
I don't know where you come from, Miss Lily, but I think they must not have given you much love when you was a little girl.
In addition to getting a little insight on herself, thanks to Leonard, she soon finds out about the others. Big Eagle, played by Don Vadas, was in prison for armed robbery and works hard to become a writer. His wife, Lorraine Wanningwater, played by Sierra Pachur, was a run-down alcoholic living on the reservation who would do anything for a drink. Lefty LeBeau, played by Bill McKinney, was a former bank teller who embezzled money to support his wife. And the MC Doc Lynch, played wonderfully by Scatman Crothers, was convicted of practicing medicine without a license. She learns that Bronco Billy spent 7 years in Folsom Prison for shooting his wife for infidelity. That is where he met most of the other members of his troupe. Interestingly, Bronco Billy sticks to his code. He, quote-unquote, only wounded his wife, and he did not shoot the perpetrator, as he was his best friend. Bronco Billy tells Miss Lily that they all paid their debts to society, and so were even with the house again. I'm not exactly sure I follow that last bit about attempted murder, but Bronco Billy believes it, and this tells us about his character. To try to get money to replace their tent, which had been destroyed in a fire, Bronco Billy decides that they should rob a train the old-fashioned cowboy way. They cover their faces with bandanas and ride alongside, Bronco Billy on his horse, the rest in his convertible. They intimidate the train to stop by shooting in the air, and then board and rob the payroll car. The train robbery fails, of course. It zooms right by them with complete indifference to their attempt. But before they try, Miss Lily objects strenuously, saying that they are living in a dream world. And in Bronco Billy's response, Eastwood finally parts the curtain wide open about who his character is.
I was raised in a one-room tenement in New Jersey. As a kid, I never even saw a cowboy, much less the wide open spaces. I was a shoe salesman until I was 31 years old. Deep down in my heart, I always wanted to be a cowboy. One day, I laid down my shoehorn and swore I'd never live in the city again. You only live once. Got to give it your best shot.
Although Miss Lily is first cynical about his story, Running Water sets her and us straight.
Don't you understand what Bronco Billy and the Wild West Show are all about? You can be anything you want. All you have to do is go out and become it.
Contemporary reviews consider this movie to be about freedom. Everyone ought to be free to choose the kind of life he or she wants to lead. Indeed, Running Water specifically says that. As one review put it, Bronco Billy, a former New Jersey shoe salesman who became a cowboy simply because he wanted to, stands as a sweetly childlike testament to that ideal. In this review, I'm going to broaden this hypothesis in a slightly different direction. In addition to being about individual freedom, Bronco Billy is about finding redemption in the pursuit of your goal, even if you end up failing. The nobility is in making the attempt and keeping to your moral code. If you fail, you can be satisfied, almost as much as if you had succeeded. One can make the argument that the Bronco Billy Wild West show is pretty much the same at the end of the movie as it is in the beginning. Although they have a successful show that concludes the movie, the future outlook is pretty much the same. In the modern age, an old-fashioned Wild West show is unlikely to get more popular than it already was, no matter how much money's put into it. And anyway, a purist like Bronco Billy would not likely have accepted modern alterations that may have improved attendance. The show, therefore, is fated to go on as an itinerant act, performing in front of indifferent audiences in small towns. Their stated goal to make enough money to buy a ranch for children is as far away as it ever was. But what is important to Bronco Billy is to be a classic cowboy hero, like the ones in the movies. These heroes are noble, loyal, earn an honest dollar, fight evildoers, provide a role model for children, and do not compromise these principles. All of Bronco Billy's troupe, including Bronco Billy himself, are ex-convicts who met at the low point of their lives in Folsom Prison. They banded together to form a traveling Wild West show, go on the road, and perform the show nightly. They are living the dream, succeeding, if not financially, certainly in their souls. Bronco Billy was filmed when America was going through a very difficult time, both internationally and domestically, and a nostalgia for the good old days was palpable. Ronald Reagan ran for president in 1980 with an upbeat vision for America's future by pledging to restore its old-fashioned values. Whether or not that is a good thing, or he actually succeeded, I will leave to others to discuss. My point is that his landslide election underscored this desire in the American public. Bronco Billy also appeals to this desire. He takes his cowboy hero role seriously and delivers his moralistic bromides with no hint of irony. Yet the positive message in Bronco Billy is more than this. Rather, it embodies the concept that the most important thing in defining your life's work is to stick to your principles. This may sound like yet another bromide, and it often is one, but Bronco Billy is sincere. He is who he is, and is unapologetic about the sacrifices and success that he must make to stick to his principles. This concept of staying true to yourself is often portrayed in Hollywood movies, but the long-term cost is not often shown. One movie that does show this is The Longest Yard, a comedy directed by Robert Aldrich and released in 1974. Paul Crewe, played by Burt Reynolds, is a professional football player turned convict who organizes a team of inmates to play against a team of prison guards. His dilemma is that the warden asks him to throw the game in return for an early release, but he is worried about the inmates' self-esteem. Crewe begins to throw the game in the second half, but his teammates realize this and consider him a traitor. While sitting on the bench, he engages an old-timer, played by John Stedman, who was originally sent to the prison as a young man for a minor offense, but was subsequently given a much longer term for punching a brutal guard. Crewe asks him if, given everything, he would do it again.
Hey, Pop. Yeah? That time you hit Hazen in the mouth. Was it worth it? Was it worth 30 years?
Yeah. For me, it was.
Pop believes that keeping his self-esteem was worth all those additional years in a brutal prison work camp. Crewe gets the point and goes out and wins the game for the convicts. It may be 10 years hard time, but he has the respect of his convict teammates and his own self-respect. And yeah, that's worth it. We've reviewed Zero Dark 30 in an earlier video in which we discussed how the lead protagonist, Maya, sacrificed everything in her life to be successful. Her personal life, her professional relationships, her own moral code. She succeeded in the end, but was only then that she realized the true price of her success, and she cries at her fate. Bronco Billy doesn't succeed in the traditional sense, but unlike Maya, he has kept to his moral code. At the end, Bronco Billy is happy with himself and all he has done, and that is what is important. Thanks for watching this video. I include a link below if you wish to see this film, either online or if you wish to buy it. Please like and subscribe if you like this video and want to see more like it. I include links to other videos on my channel here, so please click on them if you have the time and are interested. Until next time, take care.